Before we jump into this video, I wanted you guys know that I'm currently building my own guild. If you're looking for a highly competitive and also fun and enjoyable guild, join my Discord, link in the description below. Let's start with the video. Give you my opinion on every single weapon I put in there, plus readjust certain weapons in the tier list. Now, when it comes to the Grim, really didn't change much. The weapon is still super strong, and since we are in a water meta as of right now, before the patch, it's like super decent. It's the best water weapon we have right now. It buffs all your damage output for your water skills and everything. Nothing really changed for that weapon in particular. My opinion, the Huntsman got a tad bit stronger based on the fact that breaking break bars is now way more important than it used to be, because they changed the break bar values that you cannot just DPS through the bosses anymore as easily without breaking them, but now you actually have to break them, and the Huntsman helps out there a lot, especially if you have it duped up. At a free, you can also stun with the pistol and you can break them super fast. Now for the Moon Shadow, actually back in the days I would have probably ranked it A tier or low S tier, I believe, but nowadays for me this weapon is now S tier. It's the same as the Scythe in my opinion, these two weapons. There are places where the Moon Shadow outperforms more or less every other weapon in the game, even Westwind and Scythe for the dark damage. The Moon Shadow with the ability of the Lunar Eclipse allows you to stack up the damage taken effect, so you can get up to 45% damage taken, decrease or increase effect on enemies as a debuff weapon, which is a lot. If you pair it correctly with your ult skill, it deals a lot of damage. But the requirement for this weapon is you need to have it at least at A3. At A1 it is usable, but at A3 really it starts being good. Pre A3 it's probably like A0 it's B or even C tier. Like if you have it A0 it's C tier. Once you have it A1, I would say high A tier, and starting with A3 it's definitely an S tier weapon, just because of the utility. If you combine all your skills together, also with Welcome Wave for example for POD, this weapon is the best weapon for Path of Destruction. Doesn't matter what element, you can use this weapon easily and you get the highest scores possible. Then we have the Scythe. For the Scythe really didn't change anything. It's a very solid weapon and nothing in particular. It didn't get worse or better over time. It's just a solid overall weapon. You don't do anything wrong with that weapon. For the Orb of Avarice, still a very good, one of the best fire options in the game right now, and it is also a very good support weapon, because when you have it at I think A3 or A5, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was A3, you have these 30 stacks, and because of these stacks you will not run out of mana. Now Westwind is just a stupid weapon. You can use it everywhere. You can literally use it everywhere. You can clear everything with this weapon, and that's why I will put it into the double S tier category. It's not an S tier, I don't think. You can put this weapon not an double S tier. Literally you can use it in any content and it works perfectly fine. Doesn't matter, because there are other weapons that do not work in certain elemental advantage, disadvantages dungeon, but the Westwind you can literally use everywhere, and that's why it deserves its spot at double S. Then when it comes to the Demon King Longsword, I think it's the weapon. I love this weapon. Actually, it's my favorite weapon for genuine the entire game. But the problem with this weapon is just it's still lacking damage. They still need to buff this weapon. Like they need to do something, but once if this weapon gets like a couple more buffs, it will be very powerful. For Vulcan's Rage, this way I just despise this weapon. This weapon just I just put it in C tier. It's so bad. I just don't like it. It's so bad. It's literally so bad. And now with the addition of Phoenix Soul, let's put it's like high S tier in my opinion. I think you can argue probably if it's high S tier or bottom double S tier, because this weapon is unique to the other weapons as well, because it just does not solely rely on its weapon skill, but it also makes use of its core ability. But for the time being I will put it in the S tier, like top of S, Very, very powerful weapon. You need to make sure that you have it at least at A1. A3, it gets stronger, and when this thing is at A5, it becomes a monster. I think at A5 you could say it's double S, but below that it's more S, but A1 is definitely required. This weapon is just absolutely useless because you can just combine with the orb if you want to run two fire weapons. Radiru longbow, yes, it is the best light weapon in the game right now, but because it is the best light weapon in the game, does it automatically mean it is S tier? No, it's just the best light weapon overall, solid damage, but besides the damage there, it doesn't offer too much. It's lacking the stats of an SSR weapon. You, like bosses, you cannot really stun that much, and there are just other options you can run instead of the longbow. And it's very specific only for like a light dungeon is where you use it, but it is not as good. That's why it's A tier. And the rest, more or less, the Kasaka is B, rest is C tier, and there were just a couple of weapons I didn't even... Actually, I used that weapon. This actually is a new niche weapon. I will put it in B, because in Battlefield of Time, there could be a niche use where you shadow step with this weapon just to boost the crit rate of the West Wind. So this one has actually a little bit of utility, but the other three I didn't even use yet. Oh, and the Skadi is also in A rank. This weapon needs a lot of investment to be good, and you needed to have it at least at A3 or something to start being somewhat decent, and there are better options out there. And it's something I wanted to discuss, and you probably noticed since I skipped that weapon, we gotta have to talk about Plum. So Plum is there's the good and the bad about the Plum. The good thing about the Plum is it is very strong. The bad thing about the Plum is it is very strong. And that's why I adjusted this tier list, and Plum does not belong to any other weapon here, as this weapon is 100% SS+. This is the best weapon in the entire game just because of the dupes. The effects you're getting from the dupes. If you have this weapon at A5, you are basically getting 4% more attack, you're getting 36% crit rate buff, and you're getting 92% crit damage on top. This weapon, the damage is not that important on the weapon, but the amount of support you are getting out of this weapon is so high, it's so insane, that your offhand is always locked to Plum. There must be a very, very specific and rare occasion where you will not use Plum at all on Jinwoo, just because this weapon alone, just by doing a dash or something, you are getting buffs from this weapon. This weapon is too powerful to not use on Jinwoo, and this is where I have a problem, or where the issue comes with the game right now. I feel like for Netmarble, they need to add a third weapon slot for Jinwoo, where you can use 3 weapons in total, not only just 2, because right now we are in the problem where everybody will use Plum if they have it, obviously, because it is too good to not use, and then you use whatever is good for the dungeon, and you do not have any other options to play around with. Oh yeah, I want to go with this combination, I want to go with this combination, because the offhand is always locked to Plum. So having a third option would be good. So you have your main weapon, you have your sub weapon, and then you have your Plum. For example, you're running a dark dungeon, your main DPS weapon is the Scythe, then your support is the Plum, and your support DPS is your Moon Shadow. So you're basically buffing up everything with the Plum, then you cast the skill with the Moon Shadow to get the Eclipse thing, and then you just load up the Scythe and then do your maximum damage output. And I feel like for weapon rotation, that would be also good if we can equip a third weapon, so we have a little bit more variety and stuff we can play with. But with just 2 slots, it is very difficult right now to use any other combinations, because this weapon is too good. They really have to buff legit every other weapon so high, like they have to buff them like crazy if they want us to remove Plum from our loadout. Now there are a couple of things I wanted to add to the tier list as a prediction. This one will probably surprise a lot of people, and I will put this weapon into the S tier category. The Rosin's Blade will be S. I will move the Kasaka Dagger up to S tier, and I will move up the Demon Knight's Spear to S tier. So this is just a hunch, this is just a prediction, but we will be getting the Liberation system, which allows us to get our SR and R weapons to SSR. And for the time being, the free weapons we can upgrade to SSR is the Razan Blade, the Kasaka Dagger, and the Demon Knight Spear. I think the Demon Knight Spear is the safest option for potentially an S tier, because we really do not have any other light option for Jinwoo right now. There is no SSR option except for the Huntsman, but the Huntsman is more of a sub DPS weapon than a main DPS weapon, and the Spear could take this role as a main DPS weapon with the extra stats, maybe with new effects on the SSR level. And also the Kasaka could take the role as main DPS for water, and the Razan's Blade could be a good off like sub DPS, maybe even main DPS option for the Phoenix Soul. Or for people who do not have the Phoenix Soul, they then have a fully decked out A10 Razan's Blade SSR they can go with. So this is why I would rank these 3 to S tier as well. This is how I would rank everything. This is the final tier list right now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, if you agree, if you disagree, your general thoughts. And yeah, if you're interested to join the guild, join the Discord, link in the description below. Oh, and before I forget, I will be live tomorrow when the patch drops. That's it for today's videos, guys. Thanks guys for watching. See you with the next one. Deuces.